Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today we have the patch notes for patch 13.19. Big patch, but apparently from what they've been telling us before, not the biggest of changes, but obviously since there's so many of them, it definitely will be affecting the game. Let's get into the highlights right now. Buffing Bilgewater, Bastion, Demacia, Multicaster Shurima, Nico, Darius, Milio, Ryze, Gangplank, Xayah. And then they're also buffing 4 Augments, Crown Guard, and Thieves Gloves, adjusting Piltover, Fiora, and Nyla. And then nerfing Rogue, thank God, Cho'Gath, thank God, Jinx, Jace, Jarvan, Nasus, Silco, Aatrox, 19 Augments, holy cow, and Adaptive Helm. And then lastly, they're reworking 3 Augments, Social Distancing, and Rek'Sai. So overall, they're touching a few of the comps that really bothered me in the last patch, but we're going to go through all the changes. I'll let you know my thoughts on it on the way through and at the end, but let's start off with the large changes. So Bastion, they're going to be getting a buff. They got nerfed really hard before because they're preparing for the resistance penetration changes. So they're giving them a little bit more power back. Bilgewater 3 is being buffed. All of the Bilgewaters are being buffed actually, because turns out they over nerfed it. What a surprise, but here we are. I don't think they're going to be like super duper duper OP like they were before, but hopefully they're going to be maybe a little bit above average, I'm hoping. Demacia, Elite Bonus Armor and MR is being buffed at 5 and 7 Demacia. Ixtal 4, Electric Capstone is getting reworked. It's going to be Empowered Champions stun enemies once every 6 seconds is being changed to Empowered Champions deal 25% bonus damage to enemies that have been stunned by the effect. They're going to be doing like actually a ton of Ixtal changes. All of these are buffs. I see like the wood tick rate is being reduced. Ice Explosion getting more damage. And then Fireburn is going to be doing a little bit more damage as well. Multicaster damage reduced on multicast being changed from 60% to 55%. So if we look above, multicasters are being buffed, but you might be wondering like why the number is getting lower. And that's because that's the damage reduction on the secondary cast. So this is going to be a little bit better. Piltover lowered the value of Piltover cash outs in 2 to 10 loss by 15%. Lowered the value of Piltover cash outs in 11 and 12 by 10%, but then buffed the base rewards of 6 Oh my god. Okay, so regular Piltover is worse, 6 Piltover is better. It's so hard to get to 6 Piltover. Does it even matter once you get it? Maybe it does. Rogue Stealth Health Threshold is going to be changed from 50% to 35%, so bigger risk, bigger reward. Or I guess bigger risk, smaller reward, or same reward. Shurima Ascension bonus is being buffed up a little bit at 4, 6, and also 9 Shurima. 9 Shurima is really fun. Pretty much all the 9 traits are really good if you can get there, but obviously you can't get there in like 90% of your games, maybe like 95, maybe even higher. Vanquisher bonus crit rate is going to be buffed at 6 Vanquisher, so that's a pretty big bonus. I've been thinking Vanquisher might be doing really well in this next patch because I've heard they're buffing Xayah. So Vanquisher bonus crit damage is also being buffed up at, so they're buffing Vanquishers and we'll confirm the Xayah changes, but I have heard some things before reading this that they are going to be changing her too. So tier 1, Cho'Gath Feast max health damage ratio is being reduced. Was it really the damage that was the issue though? I'm not really too sure. Obviously, if he gets less kills, he gets less stacks, so he will get his tankiness affected by this change as well. But is it enough? It might be. I'm assuming they did the math. My gut instinct says no, but like there is a possibility that it might be enough. Depends on what else they change too. Milio Ultra Mega Fire Kick bounce damage is being buffed up, and the splash damage also being buffed up across the board. I did a Milio reroll game for those who missed it when I was streaming before. Really, really fun stuff. We actually got first place with it. Milio at the time was the worst 3-star unit, and we actually made it work, which was kind of cool, but definitely needs the buff if it's the worst 3-star unit in the game. Units tier 2, Jinx AD is being nerfed a bit. Kiana will no longer dash at a distance of her spell, Supreme Display of Talent. And then now onto the tier 3 changes. Let's scroll down a little bit. Darius being buffed up. I'm really hoping Darius is not a trait bot. He's been seeming like that so far. Is this enough to bring him into the forefront? I don't think so off like a first look. I think he needs like a little bit more than just a tiny bit of AD, but they do mention here that since Vanquisher was buffed also, maybe that is enough. Now that they combine all of those together, maybe Darius could be a thing. I'm gonna miss him in the Noxus build. They seem to want you to do like a Vanquisher build with him instead. Jace getting nerfed a bit. Yeah, the Gunner Jinx Jace reroll was pretty strong last patch, so makes a lot of sense. Nico Pop Blossom going to be buffed at 1 star. Pop Blossom damage going to be buffed at across the board, so Nico definitely going to be a little bit stronger. She's kind of in a weird spot. It's a damage dealing Bastion. Oh, Bastion's also got buffed. They said, or like from what I heard before, they said they weren't going to make any super major changes, but since they're like changing a lot about very specific things, maybe it will have a pretty big impact. Rek'Sai starting mana is being buffed up 50 to 70, and new Ferocious Bite now marks enemies that she bites. If the target has been previously marked, the bite will deal bonus true damage, and then Ferocious Bite mark AD ratio is going to be this. Is this like completely changed, or is this just like a new feature? I'm assuming she still jumps past enemies as she executes them. Units tier 4 Fiora Blade Waltz damage now properly applies Omnivamp when damaging shields. Very nice. Blade Waltz physical damage is going to be reduced a little bit to make up for that. Jarvan Cataclysm stun duration, this one is going to be reduced at 1 and 2 star, and that's going to make him not as OP, which is nice because he is by far the best forecast in terms of tanks because he just CCs the backline. Nasus Soul Eater max health steal is going to be changed from 5 to 4%. Nyla will now consistently find cleave targets without rapid fire cannon. Her interaction with rapid fire is unchanged. Okay, that's good. Nyla did need like a little bit more love. Silco Undercity Tactics damage is going to be reduced a bit. Yeah, Silco pretty strong. So all the changes so far make sense. It just depends on the degree. So they buff Vanquishers, they buff Nyla. They're buffing Xayah over here, so Xayah is going to get a max mana buff. Feathers at 3 stars is going to be buffed, so that doesn't change that much. But then AD ratio also changed at 3 star. Okay, so the Xayah buff isn't like super humongous big as I thought it was. It's just a change to the mana mainly, which obviously is still a big deal. But I thought it was more from what someone told me before. But what I was saying before is they are making a lot of like small changes, but they're all affecting the same units. So some units or some comps get like 3 things buffed about them instead of just like 1 or 2 things. So even though they're small, it does add up to be like quite a substantial amount at the end of the day. So probably going to be a pretty big meta shift. Units tier 5, Aatrox, Omnivamp going to be nerfed, Gangplank attack speed buffed up a bit, melee burn damage going to be reduced, melee total true damage is going to be reduced as well. So it's going to do more damage per second but less damage overall. But I guess you could keep reapplying it. Gangplank range mana on hit 3 to 5, Heimerdinger Techno Genius. New upgrade, finally. That's going to be something that's really cool added to the game. Refractor Beams, Apex Turret's abilities fire multiple laser beams which deal increased damage. It gains 100% of all mana the Heimerdinger generates from traits, items, and augments. And then we're going to have at 1 copy of Refractor Beam, 3 beams, 10% increased damage. At 2, 30%. And then at 3, 5 beams, 30% increased damage. So I guess instead of just shooting one thing, it's going to go all over the place. Should be really fun. I'm hoping a lot of the like 1-1-1 or like one of everything Heimerdinger builds are going to be a lot better. It seems that that's a direction that they kind of want people to do. Ixtal Rise stun duration is going to be buffed up at 2 star, and then Realm Warp damage ratio is going to be buffed up a little bit too. I actually tried this one out recently, and obviously I had a 2-star Rise, so it's going to be strong no matter what. But I'm guessing this was one of the weaker Rise variants, but it was really fun to play. I think a lot of people don't know that the Ixtal Rise is only 2 range in terms of auto attack range. So a lot of people place the Rise in the back thinking he's the same Rise as before, but he actually is like pretty tanky and provides like a lot of utility to your team. So you should move him up a little bit. Hopefully I'm remembering the Rise variants correctly. But now onto the augments. So Legend augments. Okay, so someone I know was complaining to me a lot about these changes. We could read their stuff here. Okay, let's just go over the changes. So big grab bag, 8 to 1 gold. In case y'all didn't know, this was one of Ornn's augments, I believe, and most legend augments are not good in stage 3 and 4. And while that sounds weird, it actually is fine because the reason why is because you always get them, so you're supposed to plan around them. So they said before they wanted the goal of the stage 3 and 4 legend augments to average around like a little worse than average, which again might seem like it might not make much sense, but they only want you to take it as like a worst case scenario, and therefore they should average around that point. So where it gets weird is that they nerfed a lot of these item ones, even though most of them were already below average. So for example, item grab bags, like no one took this and was happy ever. And now it got even worse with no compensation, which is weird. Maybe they should give like the items plus a component maybe. Seems a little weird to me. Because I think these were already below average and then they got worse already. But I guess that's a discussion for a different day. Nah, today's probably the day. It's okay. We can get into it a little bit later. Gotta Go Fast 2 and 3 are going to get nerfed. So Gotta Go Fast was a very popular thing to do with challengers. And it was probably the most popular and probably most effective strategy towards the end of the patch. So definitely got to nerf it a little bit. Jobs done, 2 component anvils is being changed to 1 component anvil and 1 random component. So they're nerfing a bunch of the other item ones. It seems that all the item ones are going to be nerfed. It seems like they really just hate the item augments, which is a little odd. Teaming up, they're adding up a teaming up 1 because before they didn't like how it gave a support item, but now it's gain 1 random component and 2 random tier 3 units. Gain 1 random support item and 1 random tier 4 unit, and then gain 1 support anvil, 1 component, and 2 random tier 4 units. Definitely agree on teaming up 1. Getting a support item from a silver augment is way too strong. These two are very interesting. I kind of like it because we have to see how it actually plays out, because getting the random units is a thing that we haven't really seen from the augments at that point in the game quite yet. A tiny grab bag nerf, training reward. Wait, training reward got... Okay. That's a little weird. Let me data check this quickly. And apparently they're all below average and they're nerfing it still. So it does, yeah, I don't... Do they talk about it here? They do not talk about it here. That's a little odd. Well-earned comforts, attack speed is going to be reduced a bit. So that one makes sense because I think that one's around average. And then they're going to make it like hopefully a little worse than average because that's kind of what they try to aim for. But now onto the other augments. Endless Horde's health reduction is being buffed up a little bit. Endless Horde's gold is being nerfed though. And then for the +1, same health reduction change, and then you get more gold instead. So I'm pretty sure that's just a stat check. Final reserves, any gold held will also be converted into experience after interest is added. And then experience granted is being changed from 70 to 60. Mana burn, percent burn is being changed from 2% to 1.5. Yeah, this one was always a very strong augment. And they kind of removed it from the game towards the end of last set, but then they added it back in, but they didn't really change it even though it was strong the whole time. So they're finally changing it now, which is good. Parting, actually they did change it because it was now a support item. So never mind on that. Parting gifts, items now transfer immediately rather than on a delay. Ravenous Hunters, 80 AP per stack is being reduced from 5 to 4. Stack cap is being increased though, so it's gonna be more fun to play this. Let's do some math quickly. So before it was 45 times 5, 225. Now it's gonna be 4 times 55. Oh, it's actually just flat out worse. Never mind. That's actually pretty big then. Wow, that's kind of odd. Rising Infamy, barrages from level 1 to 2 is now... You know what they should do instead? They should make it like the same amount of stacks, but maybe have it like stack slower or something. I guess it is like close enough, right? Is that 580 AP gonna matter that much? Who really knows, right? Rising Infamy, barrages from level 1 and 2 is going to be 50 to 65, 2 to 3, 80 to 89. And then 80 to 90 as well. And then Rising Infamy 3, starting chest level is being changed from 3 to 4. Shurima's Legacy has been re-enabled. I didn't know they disabled this. This was like a very strong augment before. I honestly didn't even realize that they removed it, but definitely like one of the cooler ones. Definitely take this early on in the game and just force some Shurima build. I've definitely never been disappointed whenever I've done that. Stolen Vitality, Vanquisher, max health heal is being changed from 1.5 to 1.25. Tiniest Titans Plus now appears on 3-2. In addition to the Tiniest Titan effects, it also grants 8 gold. Wow, this could be really good. I think this is really underrated in Stage 3, because if you're low health, you can kind of heal back up a bit, even though you take a beating a little longer. But if you want to like all in, maybe on like Stage 4, or even like Stage 5, if you can like live that long, I think it probably is pretty good, right? Items, Adaptive Helm, Backline Power, AP is being reduced a bit. Crown Guard is now going to get 100 health. Thieves Glove is going to get 150. I wonder if like they could change the combinations of Thieves Gloves to make it a little more attractive. I guess sometimes it could be a little tricky to do though. Crit chance is being reduced to compensate. Overall, I think that's like a good change though. Artifact items, Mana Zane, AP, and Mana being nerfed. Zonia's Paradox nerfed. Sniper's Focus nerfed. They're all getting nerfed, so except for Goldmancer's Staff actually. So artifact items were really strong because everyone was playing Ornn, and now that they're weaker, maybe Ornn's a little bit more balanced. I don't think this is enough because I checked the data before. The Ornn items are performing like insane. I'm talking like 4.1 or something like that to 4.2 average, or maybe somewhere around there from what I remember. And that is really powerful. So hopefully after that, they should be more in line. Maybe that's still gonna be too good though. Maybe they're gonna be like averaging like 4.4, 4.3. I don't know. Support items, like the nerfs aren't that big. Some of them are, some of them aren't. It really depends. Support items, Obsidian Cleaver team bonus stats is going to be changed from 1080 and AP to a little less. Chalice of Power is going to be buffed up a little bit. This is probably like my least favorite support item. I like the old Chalice. The new one's kind of difficult to use for me. Radiant Jackshow, the Protean bonus ability power is being buffed up a little bit. Rascal's Gloves increased as well, or getting the same treatment as Thieves' Gloves, and then Royal Crown Shield getting the health bonus too. Now onto small changes. Those are a lot of large changes, I'm gonna be honest with you. That's probably one of the biggest ones we've read in a while. But Traits Juggernaut damage reduction is going to be buffed at 6 Juggernaut. Targan Heal and Shield is going to be buffed up as well. And then units tier 1, Jhin getting a mana buff, Orianna mana buff as well. Orianna's just never been like a carry from what I've seen, but maybe the dream can come true one day. Galio mana buff, tier 3, Karma Ionia AP bonus is going to be increased from 20 to 25. Vel'Koz vision damage is going to be nerfed across the board. Rise Realm Warp damage is going to be buffed up a lot at 3-star in Demacia, and then they're removing. And then for Shadow Owls, you can now resurrect allies at above 100% health. Lucky Eggs cash out is being changed a little bit. One of them was apparently Tactician's Crown, Adaptive Helm, Sterix, and 20 gold. It's being changed to a Zeke's Herald, Chalice, and 25 gold. Strategist Soul item granted is being changed from Night Harvester to Adaptive Helm. That's actually very thematic because it's like strategy, adaptive, you gotta choose between front and back. I like that change. Bug fixes, never lucky. Lucky Gloves will grant the correct category of items on champions like Ryze, Kayle, and Quinn. Stationary support now has correct text and hyperroll. Zon no longer deletes consumables if they're used with a full item bench while you have Zon mod pending. Cassiopeia no longer loses some cast when she has the Radiant Blue buff. Dummy can no longer be recombobulated and no longer counts for player damage. Blacksmith's Gloves now correctly counts as a TG for sleight of hand. I think they mean for lucky gloves, right? Is that it? Nashor's Tooth now grants its attack speed at the correct time for champions with long mana locks such as Nasus and Taric. Locket of the Iron Stellaris resistances will persist for the correct duration instead of ending when the shield breaks. Zon Robotic Arm now correctly states that its overcharge deals 25% bonus true damage instead of 25% attack damage as true damage. Gangplank now gets correct items from Lucky Gloves when he's placed on the front line directly from the bench. Shurima's Legacy turret will no longer remain after the player's death, being an agent of chaos. Balar's Howl now grants his rewards on Hyperroll. And then Training W's from Double Up Assist Armory now has correct star level on away boards. Fix a bug where What the Forge could fail to transform an item when quickly made on an opponent on a champion taken from the carousel. Honor Roll now correctly grants a free refresh if units auto-combine on round start, and then Zon Rise's tooltip now correctly reflects that he shreds and sunders 30% instead of 20%. Fix an issue where Kiana could dash too far behind her ability to hit, and lastly, Chibi Aurelia and Chibi Divine Sword Aurelia limbs no longer stretch during Shrine of the First Land's intro animation. So bugs not too impactful this time around. I didn't see any that were like that complained about. But onto the highlights like Vanquisher Xayah, Vanquisher Darius, maybe could be a thing. I think Cho'Gath's probably still good. The Gunners did get hit quite a bit because 2 of them got nerfed. The Fiora build with Master Yi definitely going to take a big hit. But is Bilgewater back? That's going to be one of the biggest questions because a lot of the Bilgewater units got buffed. Like, didn't Nyla get buffed, Gangplank, and like all the Bilgewater traits? I'm trying to think of other things that really changed a lot. It's like Vanquisher and Bilgewater that were affected the most. So I've been wondering, like, with these Vanquisher changes, are people going to go more for the Ionia Vanquisher or maybe the Freljord Vanquisher version? I've been seeing both, and it kind of depends what items you have, I would imagine. But I think that's definitely going to be some of the comps to look out for in this next patch. Neeko reroll builds might be something to dream about. It's just really weird as being a Bastion and a damage unit that I think doesn't really happen that often. Fiora's apparently going to be kind of the same because she got like a little bit of a buff and a nerf. So she was pretty meta defining before. Silco, I don't think he's going to be affected that much. I still think he's going to pop off quite a bit. But that's going to be the major changes to look out for. I think like the Xayah changes, Bilgewater probably going to be like slightly above average. And then the Neeko one probably not going to change much at all. But overall, I think this hit a lot of things. I didn't understand some of the augment nerfs, but I don't really play those legends, so it's not going to affect me, but it probably will affect other people. But let me know what you all think about these changes. Which ones do you like the most? Which ones do you like the least? But that's going to be it from me today. Oh, Piltover being adjusted pretty big too, because Piltover, like whenever you get it, for me, as long as you're able to streak in the early game and there aren't too many other Piltover players, it's pretty much like a free top 2 at least, right? So glad that they are changing that. But that's going to be it from me today. Hopefully you all enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you all Friday for the meta snapshot at bunnymuffins.lol/meta. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to share and subscribe, and of course smash that like button. Each like is an LP I gain before the next video.